The Avengers continues to smash records at the box office. Obviously, this is what it's third week at number one spot. But on Thursday, last Thursday, obviously, it set a new domestic speed record, reaching over $400 million at the box office in 14 days. Worldwide, it just passed Toy Story 3 and Pirates of the Caribbean: Dead Man's Chest, which was a part two, to become the sixth grossing highest film of all time and the highest grossing Disney film ever. Internationally, it is the number 9 grossing film of all time. The film is now over $150 million, breaking a record-breaking after a record-breaking 17 days. The Avengers. That's another statistic actually. Should have mentioned that before I mentioned the 14-day one. The Avengers, in total, in the international box office, has gathered $668.7 million and a domestic rate of $402 million for a global rate, or combination of a billion, pretty much $1 billion. Pretty much. More than $1 billion. Just over $1 billion. Disney's fifth. This is also Disney's fifth release to cross the $1 billion global box office threshold. So there you go. Good for you, Avengers. Good for you. And speaking of the Avengers, we now have a release date and details regarding the film's home release. Of course, that means DVD and Blu-rays. The release for the DVD will be September 25th, and as expected, the combo pack is loaded with special features. The 4-disc Blu-ray DVD pack includes an audio commentary by Joss Whedon, the director, loads of deleted scenes including an alternate ending, featurettes, and much, much more. Additionally, and this is crazy, a 10-disc Blu-ray superset is apparently being planned, and of course details and release date on that will be in the future, somewhere down the line. Whedon did reveal that there will be 30 minutes of deleted scenes, and that he shot, and some stuff featuring Captain America reuniting with an old Peggy Carter. If you saw Captain America, Peggy Carter is of course his love interest. So there you go. So there's that. Okay. Also, there will be a lot of himself that got cut out from the finished film. So everybody who's a Joss Whedon fan, don't worry. There's going to be a lot of cool stuff on the DVD. Another short film also is in there, a short film called Marvel One Shot Item 47. And if you're familiar with the Marvel short films that have been released on their DVDs, like on Thor and Captain America, I don't know if Captain America got one, I know Thor got one. All those short films starred Clark Gregg, who played Agent Coulson. And if you saw The Avengers, then that's a good thing to have Agent Coulson back in the mix. Anyway, moving on. Take that as you will. Moving on. Let's see. I mentioned that. No, did I mention that? No, I did not. There we go. I mixed some stuff around in my news items, so I'm kind of all over the place. Anyway, Jeff Waldlow, he directed Cry Wolf and Never Back Down, talked about a sequel to Kick-Ass, which we mentioned here on the show a couple times. It is finally getting a sequel at Kapow, the comic book convention, of course, again held in London, and confirmed that shooting would begin in September. However, he did add that Chloe Grace Moretz, who of course we all know as Hit Girl, has not officially signed on to reprise her role as Hit Girl, which may be a bit of a problem since he had significantly expanded the character's role from what it was in Mark Millar's comic series. Speaking with the audience, Wallow says the movie will have more of an emotional story to tell, saying, "I think one of the most important thing that's going to change from Kick-Ass 2 comic to the movie was really finding an emotional story to tell, because what I certainly loved the first film, and what I think elevated above most comic books adaptations, is the heart and emotion of the film. It was sort of a challenge as the filmmaker and storyteller to find something as emotional in the second film, and I think we have some stuff that people are going to really respond to. More than the emotions in the first film, the audiences really responded to Hit Girl character, which is true. And Waldo talked about how the character has a much bigger role in the script than she does in the books, saying, if you read the comics, you know she gives up being Hit Girl, which is a brilliant idea. I thought on Mark's part, it's something I explore quite deeply in the movie, because what happens in the comics is she sort of steps away from the story in many ways, and she's sort of sidelined while Dave is working with Justice Future, and Chris is becoming a word I can't say on the radio. But as I quite interested in what happens to her when she's not being Hit Girl, her story is major part of the film, and she's excited about the ideas. And we're in talks. So there you go. Chloe Grace Moretz, not necessarily completely out of the Kick-Ass movie, but she hasn't officially signed on either. So take that as you will, because a lot of people, kind of be like, oh, she's not signed on. That doesn't mean she's not coming back. Not necessarily true. But what can I say? Okay, just a few more news items we have here. Here are some new plot details on Iron Man 3. That's right, plot details. They reveal the role of why China played. Let me restart that. Reveals the role that China will play in the sequel, and of course, China is not a character. It is, when I mean China, I mean the country, because of course they're filming some of it in China, and so China's also producing it, I think, money-wise anyway. This is only a rumor. It isn't true, and if it does become true, then this is a spoiler. But again, so far as of right now, it is a rumor. So take that as you will. It was announced that Andy Lau from films like Eternal Affairs and House of Flying Daggers hasn't really done anything in America. These films were actually released in America, so that's why. It's the only two films that I can think of that were released here in America that people might have seen. Anyway, was going to be in Iron Man 3. Now an Andy Lau fan site points out at a video report from China's Apple Daily, claims that Lau will play a friend of Tony Stark in China, which I think some of us knew already, who will help him in a battle against, and here's where the spoiler part comes in, if it's not a rumor. This is a rumor, so just take this as a rumor. But if it does become true, it is a spoiler. To help him in a battle against the Mandarin. Now, don't get too excited. I know I heard some of you squeal. The report further claims that Iron Man has come to China to rescue a friend's daughter who was kidnapped in America and brought overseas. Chinese actress Bing Fan is said to be cast as Lau's wife, and another Chinese actress, Yang Mi, as his assistant. The Mandarin will reportedly be played, nobody knew why Ben Kingsley was in the project, and he was hired as a unspecified villain, and now people are saying that he's actually playing the Mandarin because they, didn't want to harm the Chinese image, so that's why they casted, and I guess not even American, a British actor, and altered his comic book roots as to, of course, not to harm the Chinese image, like I just said. Iron Man 3 begins shooting in North Carolina, before moving on to Beijing and Shanghai. The movie is also reportedly to see Iron Man fly over the Great Wall of China, the National Palace Museum, and various landmarks in Shanghai. So there you go. So, okay, here's the thing. If this is true, then I think it will make a lot of people happy that the Mandarin is finally in the movie. And again, this is only just a rumor. This isn't necessarily true. If this is true, then, I think it makes a lot of people happy. And don't come hurting the messenger either. I like everybody else, have been waiting for the Mandarin to pop up in Iron Man. And Jon Favreau, who directed the first two, said that he wanted the Mandarin to appear in Part 3. And we do know that nanotechnology is involved in Part 3. We also know that Guy Pearce is going to play in the movie. He plays a villain called, what was his name? Aldrich Killian. and Rebecca Hall plays a character that's yet to be specified, but they're saying that she plays a character from the comics. I can't remember the name of it right now, the name of her character right now. But anyway, if this happens, I mean, there would be no other reason to set it in China if it wasn't the Mandarin, because, of course, the Mandarin comes from in the comics. You know, the Mandarin is part of the Chinese, the mythology and all that. And casting, you know, a British actor would of course fit with Marvel, because obviously one of their best villains in all their movies. Wait a minute. No, I'm thinking about it. No, wait. No, Jeff Bridges wasn't British. I was going to say that all the villains in the Marvel movies were all British, which is kind of true when you think about it. Tim Rothman, who was the villain in The Incredible Hulk, who played the Abomination, he was British. Tom Hiddleston, he's British. He's probably the best British villain that they had. He was in Thor and Avengers. Jeff Bridges, of course, isn't British, but he was the villain in Iron Man. Yeah, and then Iron Man 2. No, Iron Man 2 had Mickey Rourke and Sam Rockwell. They weren't British. And Mickey Rourke wasn't Russian. Take that as you will. So I think it'd be interesting. But changing the whole thing, I mean, they already made, you know, the Order of the Ten Rings, kind of this terrorist group. It just kind of blends into what they were saying about the nanotechnology in the hands of a terrorist group. That's kind of like the early plot details that they were talking about. I think it'd be pretty cool. I think it would be interesting if they changed, like, they already said they would change the Mandarin, you know, what was the wording they used? What was the word they used? They used alter his comic book roots. So there you go. So it'd be interesting. You know, the Order of the Ten Rings. Sorry, was mentioned in the first one, and briefly in the second one. Somebody caught the Ten Ring reference in part 2. I didn't catch it. But anyway, again, I think it would be pretty cool if they brought the Mandarin in, and I think a lot of people will agree. As for Ben Kingsley, if he does play the Mandarin, I say that's a good choice. I really do. I like Ben Kingsley as an actor. He's, you know, he has his hit and misses. Love Guru. Anyway, but besides that, I mean, he's a great I almost said he's a great actress. He's a great actor. If Guy Pearce were to play the Mandarin, that'd be pretty cool too. But you know, we'll leave that as it may. We'll just leave that as it may. But Guy Pearce in the movie in general is awesome. But yeah, I mean, I totally support this you know, this plot synopsis, if it is indeed true to what it is. So far, it's a rumor, but if it is true, then I'm happy for it. I can't wait to see it. I was already excited to see Iron Man 3. So take that as you